Alrighty, hello, good morning, or good evening, or whatever time it is. Hello, I'm Callum. I'm the community manager at Steel Sky Productions, where we are working on Warhammer Underworlds online. This stream today, we're going to be going through some of the deck building aspects and different strategies in the game. We are broadcasting across Twitch, YouTube, and on our Steam store page as well. So if you have any questions, hit us up. This will obviously be going up a bit later on YouTube as well. I do have the chats open on my second screen here, so we can go through that. A bit of housekeeping before we really jump into it. Make sure if you want to ask any questions or anything like that, do that in the chat, or you can always jump over to our Discord, where we have the link down below there. You'll be able to find our link most places if you just do a good old Google search as well. But yeah, we last week had released our 6th warband, the Spyclaw Swarm being the Skaven. Very exciting. A lot of people have been anticipating and wanting that particular warband for the longest time. I can show them over here. Yeah, so now in our roster, hello Cranky, old nerd, how you going? In our roster we have these 6 here. Now you might notice that some have different skins. That's because we also release cosmetic items, which is very exciting. With those, they are actually warband specific and how you unlock them as well. So as you go along, oh, there you go. As you play matches as a particular warband, you will be unlocking these urns down the bottom here, and with that you'll get particular titles, and you'll also be getting particular deck portraits and warband skins as well. And so those experience points only go up for particular warbands. So if you have a look here, where we're up to number 4 with Spyclaw Swarm, Fast Riders. We haven't really played that much Fast Riders, but yeah. What we're going to be doing today, we're going to be covering some deck building and what that looks like. This has been a request from one of our subscribers, viewers. So this one goes out to Dragon and who else was the other person? It was Throt, I think their name was, in the last stream in the middle of the week. We are streaming 3 times a week at this stage, so those different times are, I mean, we're based in Australia, so it's a little bit harder, but we've got the start of the week, where we it's a chill stream. We're just playing games or chatting about, stuff in Warhammer or anything else that's in the news. Then we have our midweek stream, which is a challenge stream, usually set by the community or set by myself, where we try to play a particular style. And then at the end of the week, like today, is the end of week explanation, where we really deep dive into certain mechanics and features of the game to be able to help people understand more about the game and things like that. So yeah, here we are doing a explanation stream. And yeah, I'm free to answer any questions as we go along, or if you want to see anything in particular, I'll try my best. I'm also drinking my coffee, so apologies if you have to listen to any slurping noises. We're only professionals here. So, I guess diving straight into it, we're going to start with Steelheart's Champions. Now, when it comes to deck building with any of the warbands, you really have to have the warband in mind of their movement, their damage, their likelihood of getting hits. because there's no point going in with a fully aggressive kind of deck if you're not going to be able to actually get land those hits. So, you know, uh, when we're talking aggro decks, we're usually looking at Mgor's Fiends, the Iron Skull Boys as well, and sometimes you can do Steel Hearts Champions. So what do I mean by aggro? Aggro decks are aggressive, where you're wanting to really get in there and do as much damage as possible. And then also you want to have the right objective cards to reward that kind of play as well. So if we look at, let's go in and have a look at Magor's Fiends for this. So with Magor's Fiends, for example, we see that majority of them have a movement of one. I'm sorry, not one. A movement of 3 and a defense of 1. So with the defense of 1, that's defense dice being rolled when you're being attacked. And then it's only Riptooth who then has a dodge instead of a block. And if you actually have a look in our dice glossary over here, let's see if we've got defense dice. Yes, defense. So you'll notice here in the defense dice that this is the likelihood of things being rolled, right? Defense dice has 2 of the blocks, 1 of the dodge, 1 half support and 1 full support, and 1 crit. So really higher chances of you want blocks, right? Over dodges. And then when it comes to attack, you've got 1 crit, 2 smash or hammers, 1 fury or swords, and 1 half support, 1 full support. So again, you're going for these hammers, this smash. That's kind of what you want because you've got a high likelihood of hitting or rolling those. So you'll notice for Magors that majority of their attacks as well do have some sort of smash roll. Right, we've got Demonic Axe here that has the 2 smash dice, so that means that you're looking for 2 hammers. Well, you're looking for 1 hammer for it to be a success, but you're rolling 2 dice. That's what that means in that context. And if you succeed, you get 2 damage. So moving on here, you'll see that same goes for Zarkus, but both Zarkus and Gartok have reactions. These reactions are essentially if someone fails a hit against you, you will be able to potentially hit them back, but only for a damage of 1 and only rolling 1 fury dice. Then as we go along to Riptooth, we've got rolling 3 attack dice, but getting only 2 damage, but you've got cleave if one of the dice you roll is actually critical or crit. So cleave is actually what negates the enemy's shield, their block. I know this is a lot to go through, but yeah, it's all this has to be taken in to kind of really understand what you want to be doing when you're putting these decks together. So now that we've kind of covered that, we want to look into what sort of objectives you have. The whole point of Warhammer Underworlds, to be able to win the game, is to have the most amount of glory at the end of the 3 rounds. So as you can see here, we've got 12 objective cards and with a potential win of 19. So you've got all those there. It will take you through them, but we'll jump over here. Now, good thing to note that when you load up the game, you actually get a pre-made deck. Those decks are usually pretty balanced in the way of just like nothing too crazy or nothing really difficult to get. Some of them are a little bit harder, but uh, we'll kind of go through that in a second. Now, all of your cards in Warhammer Underworlds are actually split up between universal cards and faction cards. You can tell the difference between the two by the symbol in the top right hand there. So in the deck builder here, you can actually change your view. You can have just faction cards, just universal cards, or a mixture of the two. So thinking about what your kind of playstyle will be and what you want to achieve, if you're wanting to go for that really aggressive deck, and we already know that Magor's Fiends, for example, are a very aggressive warband, we'll start by looking at what they've already got in their faction cards. So as you can see here, we've got how many? We've got counting. We've got 9 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep, we've got 9 cards that are just faction specific. The highest being 3, and the lowest being 1. So a lot of these cards seem to encourage an aggressive style of play. So we've got Bloody Annihilation, for example. So this is if the end phase of all enemy fighters being taken out of action. This is obviously a high risk, high reward sort of objective to get, because as you're charging in or you're trying to take out enemy fighters, you know, you think it'd be easier, but that really is determined by the roles and who you're fighting up against. So you might not want something like that unless you are super confident that you know that you can really land those hits, and you're not against a really, really difficult warband. All the better to slay. Scoreless immediately for friendly fighters, at least 3 adjacent to a different enemy fighter. So that's something good to have, you know, if you're, again, doing aggressive play and you're guaranteeing that at the end of the round, you are going to be standing next to enemy fighter. So you really want to be up in their face, which again, maybe you're not landing those hits, but if you are next to them, you'll be getting that card. That's one of those cards that you really want to get in the first round. Then going along, Bane of Champions. So Riptooth takes out an enemy leader. Again, something a little bit more difficult. You need to make sure you're guaranteeing that that kind of kill. And to do that, you would probably be sending in multiple kind of fighters first, and then going in with Riptooth. But that would be a bit more difficult to get at the start of the game, right? Especially if you're up against a particular faction where the warband is actually pretty far back on the board. You don't want to spend the whole time just going through and holding on to that card, thinking that, oh, I'll get it in the next round, or I'll get it in the next round, because you're 3 rounds down trying to get one card. It's not worth it. So kill again. This is a good card to have if you are, you know, heading in, killing everyone, but really probably in that second round you want to have that card. You might have already damaged a few people in the first round. In the second round, you might have a better chance to take them out. Then No Escape being charges. That's a good one to have. Any kind of score immediately cards are always good to have in your deck as well, just so that you really have more advantage to start the game with more upgrades. Then score this in the end phase of all surviving fighters, at least 4 are wounded. Now that's a difficult one to get, just because obviously if you're charging in and you're getting attacked by everyone, that's okay, but then if one of your fighters go down, you won't be able to score that card because you need at least 4 to be wounded. So that's a little bit more difficult. Save the best. Score this in the end phase if an enemy fighter is the only surviving fighter. So that's one of those ones where it kind of juxtaposes the first ones, Bane of Champions. So it's probably best to choose between those. Oh yeah, true. Thank you, FD. Score this in the end phase if all surviving fighters at least 4 are wounded. So all surviving fighters counts towards all both enemy and friendly fighters. It's super easy once you get Shardgale. Yes, so Shardgale is a particular card. That's the one where it drops from the ceiling, correct? Where essentially everyone on the board takes a wound. That card isn't in the game yet, but it's one of those cool ones to put in. And then Show of Strength, score this immediately if your leader takes an enemy fighter out. Again, good to have a score immediately card. Yeah, it is fun when both players have it. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, so taking that all into consideration, you then move on to the universal cards. So universal cards are kind of taken across all the different warbands. All these cards are available to play. So when it comes to thinking about constructing your deck and putting things together, you want things that you can probably guarantee. It's always hard to do, but there are definitely some cards in now that are definitely ones that you could probably get. So I'm just actually going to flip this around to show some of the more recent cards, right? So I'm just going to take those out. These 3 are probably my favorites. Even though they're low scoring cards, they're ones that you can probably usually get. So Change of Tactics, score this immediately if a friendly fighter on guard makes a charge action. Now, again, a bit of risk and reward. You do want that in the first round or so, or well, I like to have it in the first round, just because you can spend your first activation putting your fighter on guard and then charging in. It's a little bit it's one of those things where it's a little bit difficult where you might be on guard if your character's already wounded and then someone takes them out and you've essentially wasted that. So you want to make sure you're putting it onto someone who's got high wounds, meaning they haven't taken any damage or minimal damage, and you can then charge in. With that, you also want to ensure that maybe they can charge in on 1 or 2 of the enemy fighters, just because if you charge in, well, you'd think that you can charge in just on 1, and then your enemy spends the next activation moving them away, and then you can't do the charge action. You might be waiting for a little while, and maybe it's end of the round, you can't do it. So you want to make sure you're doing that early with multiple options. Advancing Strike, score this immediately when your warband takes an enemy fighter standing in enemy territory out of action. This one's particularly good if you're going up against, say, the Sepulchral Guard or so, just because, or even Skaven, because they will usually have some weaker warbands, weaker fighters towards the front, just because of the abundance of numbers, and you can usually take them out if you've got the right cards. So in combination with, say, Magor's Vein, with a Ploy, Twist the Knife. So if you succeed, that will do 2 damage. Twist the Knife, take it up to 3. That would take out any of the smaller skeletons, and so then you'd be getting that card straight up. Next one is Ploy Master. Ploy Master is a very, very good card to have if you can get ploys. Ploys being these cards here, with the kind of dagger symbol, sword symbol in the top left. So essentially, if you have played 3 or more ploys in the preceding phase or round, you will be getting that one. It's very handy if you're playing Skaven as well, so you really want to just be like going ham on Ploy. Yeah, so those are three that I usually have in most of my decks, but if we're talking aggro decks again, we're looking at things that encourage that aggressive style of play. So things where you're scoring immediately for taking out enemy fighters, precise use of force. Let's have a look. Accept inevitability actually for an aggro deck is something good to have, just in case. It's a just in case situation that maybe you've sent everyone in and they actually end up dying. Maybe that will be one of those ones that you have at the end that can just take you over the edge. Maybe you score something like Denial because none of the enemy fighters that have actually gone onto your side of the board because you've spent all their time and resources keeping them on their side of the board, and then they haven't thought to take it over. You score Denial, and then if all your fighters are dead and you have Accept Inevitability, that's takes you up to 4. So that's always just like a small saving grace in an aggro deck that you think everyone's going to get killed in. So yeah, you might notice that it's actually, I believe that's Garrick's Reavers on that one. Yeah, so makes sense for chaos there. Then multiple fronts score this in the end phase if your warband dealt damage to 3 or more enemy fighters in the preceding action phase. Now with that, remember it's dealt damage, so you want to be ensuring those hits. So any ploys that ensure that you're going to be getting those rolls, right? Obviously, having any hold objective card as well will be super helpful just to make sure you can actually maybe score 1 or 2 glory, get an easy one. I'd have to check the errata for that one. FD. Score this in the end phase if your warband dealt damage to 3 or more enemy fighters in the preceding action phase. That's something we would need to check up in the rules. But yeah, that would be an interesting one. That's a good edge case for if and when we have those cards in. Yes, we get it. You want Shard Gale. So for those, I'm pretty sure I explained before, but Shard Gale is a card that deals 1 damage, 1 wound to everyone on the board. So that includes enemy fighters and friendly fighters. So for a warband like, say, Iron Skull Boys, who inspire on taking damage, that's an easy one for them. But yeah, so those are all the universals there. Now if we've gone through the objectives, let's look at the ploys then. So again, we want things that encourage kind of aggro styles of play. So let's have a look. So continue the slaughter, obviously good. If you have a fighter taken out, you can then have +1 damage in the next one. Reaction, play this. Roll an extra attack dice for the first activation, next activation. So essentially, if someone is taken out, on the next activation, you'll be able to roll that. Now, make sure that when you play these, you are playing these at the right time. I've seen a new player will think that they've taken someone out, and so then they'll use Blood Frenzy as a reaction or an activation. And it's just like, okay, no, that doesn't actually go across into your next phase. It actually only goes into the next activation phase, which is the enemy's activation phase. So you want to make sure that it's actually when one of you, if you understand, power phases are all very confusing, but essentially ensure that you're only playing the reactions for when you're about to play. If it's a positive effect, you want to do it just before you're about to go. Furious Inspiration, always a good one to have. I'm actually going to get rid of Demonic Resilience. So roll to Corn. Roll an extra attack dice. So make sure to keep something like that in. To the victor, the spoils. So with this, play this after friendly fighters attack action that play this after a friendly fighter's attack action that takes an enemy fighter with a wounds characteristic 3 or more out of action. Draw 3 power cards. So if you have, say, Ploy Master, and you're looking for more cards to be able to play it, make sure to have cards like this, so then you can actually, have more cards in your deck to be able to potentially get those out. Let's have a look here. Reflected Injury is something good to have as well if you're going in and, you've definitely been wounded and you know you're going to be wounded if you're just going to be charging in. Then you can actually deal damage to that person who just gave you damage. Where if that's like, a lot of people know that when you're dealing damage, you're usually dealing, on an average of like 1 to 3. So if someone has, say, 4 wounds, you've hit them for 3, and then they hit you, you can do Reflected Injury. That will just take them out. It's a good one to have. Mighty Swing as well. So that is what we would call like essentially putting a scything ability onto any fighter. So with a range of 1. So scything is when you will see the red circle around the fighter. You'll see that with the Harvester in the Sepulchral Guard. That's one of the fun ones. Trust at Luck is just a good one to have in your hand in general. Discard any number of power cards and draw up to that number of cards from your deck. So that's if you've just drawn, say, you've started the game, you've got only upgrades, and you really need this particular card, or like towards the end of the game as well. It's just a good one to have just to kind of be a saving grace. Lethal Strike, so that essentially doubles the damage of your next attack. You have to be able to land it, but it's pretty cool when you do get it. And Spoils of Battle as well. That's kind of a standard now in most decks, where you play this if you don't have any glory. If you get this in the first round, it's super helpful because you could just put down an upgrade on one of your fighters, and yeah, kind of start with a bit of an advantage there. Now going to upgrades, you want ones that are going to be doing extra damage, are going to be doing, allowing you to do extra rolls as well. So Awaken Weapon, that's particularly good. You want to be doing things like Wrathful Blows, Raid-fueled attacks. You'll notice that a lot of these are actually Magor's kind of cards. But yeah, so that's the kind of understanding and thinking behind an aggressive deck. Now, if you do pardon me, that coffee's starting to get to me now. I'm not going to save this. Just because now we're going to go into something that's more objective heavy. I'm actually going to just go and show off the Sepulchral Guard. Just because obviously the Sepulchral Guard having, yes, Sepulchral Guard having 7 fighters obviously can really take over the game board there, the battlefield if you will. So when we create that and look at the objectives, so flip that. So this is the standard Sepulchral Guard deck. You'll notice that there are a lot of objective ones, but also supremacy for holding 3 objectives. You kind of want those cards just because you do have a lot of numbers, and the Warden's ability where that you can actually move fighters. So a lot of the guard themselves actually have low wounds, so you have to be really careful with that, making sure that they're not too vulnerable. So you want the objectives on your side of the board and kind of far back. If your opponent is smart, they will actually try and put those space them on the board in such a way that you won't be able to have all of them on your side, unless they're also playing aggressively and want you to kind of like stay in a particular area. You'll see that when we place objectives. But yeah, so with being able to move a lot of the fighters, the Warden's super valuable, so you want to make sure that you're keeping them, safe, secure in the back line. And with the Warden as well, you have particular upgrades. So one upgrade being Ancient Commander, where instead of moving 2, you get to move 3. So that's super helpful when it comes to claiming those objectives as well. So those in combination with, say, the keys, right? Where if you earn glory, place the keys on some of the fighters, have them on the objectives. If they're alive at the end of the 3rd round, by the end of the game, they get 2 extra glory for each one. It's not the easiest kind of play style to be objective heavy, but it feels good when you can pull it off. For objectives like claim the city, where you get 5 for holding all the objectives at the end of the phase, it's a good feeling. It's amazing. It's not something I've achieved against a human player, but I think I got it once against bots, and it felt good. But yeah, I'm going to just go, yes. We're going to actually just jump into a game with the Sepulchral Guard. If I double check this deck, so what I've got here, I think I've got like a mix of aggro and objective heavy. So I've got March of Dead, I've got Supremacy, get to hold some objectives. You'll notice that it's not too high, like 17 seems like a high amount of glory, but it's really not. Later on you'll see in the tabletop version and things like that, where people will be scoring, 20 plus glory. Like in the tabletop version of the game, you'll see a lot of people who will be able to score 10 glory by the end of the first round. The game really changes later on in its life, where it becomes more and more aggressive, more about those score immediately or surge cards as they're known. But yeah, but right now, being back in Shadespire, we get to just calm down a little bit, if you will. Yeah, I don't think I'm getting Advancing Strike, but let's see if we can't get... Just thinking. Let us try for... I mean, I could potentially get no more tricks. Score this in an end phase if you have no power cards in your hand. That's a possibility. So a lot of my cards here are about movement, are about swapping people over, doing a little bit of damage, but not too much. Oh, that's right. That's something that I did want, was Restless Dead. I always kept wondering where that card was. And then, I mean, I don't have Twist the Knife or anything. It gets harder when you have so many cards. Cake, we're still in early access, but we are pretty far along in early access. Yes, thank you, FD. We're 6 warbands in. We've got a lot going on here. So now I'm gonna maybe put. No, I'm not gonna have coordinated attack. I will have one of the keys. I've kept Ghostblade. Ghostblade, when rolling defense dice, only rolls of crits as successes. It's going to be a good one. Well, we hope it's going to be a good one as well. We're going to do that one, and we're going to do... I need one more. No, that's it. Okay, great. Yes. Now, I'm probably just going to jump in for a casual play. But I'm just showcase some of the kind of cosmetics that we've got. So this is for the regular guard here, the sparkle guard, their skin. Then we have Shade Guard. So this is one of the first cosmetics you unlock as the Sepulchral Guard. And then you have the Night Legion, which is actually the exclusive early access skin that you get, which is pretty cool. I really like it. So I definitely don't think I'm going to win with this deck, but we're going to just jump on in because I want to get more cosmetics. Yeah. We're going to just casual play, just because I don't think people would be happy playing against me. I'm gonna keep that there. I'll just answer some questions while we're looking for an opponent. Lethal Gek. Is there any woman that doesn't have the shield defense again? True. Excuse me, I need a cough. Suzzle about that. Oof, okay. I need to know if Warband DLC will be so expensive. I need this game, but I cannot spend a lot of money. So we haven't announced what the prices are going to be like for DLC. We are hoping to keep it reasonable, very reasonable. Now I've got to think about my placement. I'm going to actually do the same, but we're going to try and keep it tight here. Oh, actually no. What we're going to do, I'm going to go here. Yeah, thanks FD. We'll play a game.
So question is, how close to the real tabletop? I mean, I would love to see something that actually mimics the tabletop game. Also, how many warbands do you get for the initial buy-in? Right now, so we are trying to keep it as close to the tabletop version as possible. That being said, it is we're starting back in season 1, where the current tabletop game is in season 3. So there's different rule sets and everything between those, but yeah, we're trying to keep it as faithful adaptation. When it comes to then just checking. So I'm actually going to get rid of those, as great as they would be. So you're actually getting 6 warbands when you start off. So for the initial buy-in, so you've got the Sepulchral Guard, who we're playing today. We have Magor's Fiends. We have Steelheart's Champions. The Skaven being Spikeclaw Swarm, and the Fast Riders as well. So 6 instead of the initial, like the 2 that you would usually get when you start the game. So I'm actually going to keep one of these. Put Yell forward. I hope that answers your question, Cake Fisk. So, good thing to note with our game as well. So, something that we did get back from the community was during our early access and betas, because we've run quite a few to really get the correct feel of the tabletop experience. But one of the things that we added was the tactical view, which you'll see here. So that's something that's a little bit different, where if you're not too sure about where placements are, where to do things, if you hold down Alt or press this to the left, you'll actually see where the objectives are and where the summoning tiles are as well. Now what do I have here? Okay, I've got those. So let's see. We're going to use shifting shards and try and move this one a little bit closer to us. Obviously, if you were playing a bit more tactically, you do it when needed, but we'll see. Yeah, so you can move your camera a fair bit here as well, just by scrolling in on the mouse and just click and drag. We've tried to keep it to minimal input when it comes to viewing everything. Oh, here we go, charging in. Oh. Now, this is where things get difficult straight off the bat. It's only the first kind of round and I'm already going like, what should I do? Alright, so now as we charge in, we sort of hope that we don't land this hit, just because if we do, he'll become inspired. It'll be a little bit more difficult, but we want to get change of tactics. Awesome. So now, what we'll actually do is we will use acrobatic, so to keep someone alive. I'm going to... Who do I want to keep alive? I mean, we want to keep our warden alive, potentially. Yeah, so if you want to... This is probably the most top-down you can get in the view. What is second wind? Okay. What we're going to do is actually use sidestep just to get away from him. Any way to see inspired card before the inspire some warrior when you are in battle. So there's no current way right now to really find out. Well, I mean, if you hover over them, you'll with the tooltips on, you can see there that it tells you how the fighter inspires. Sorry, FD. I know keeping everyone alive is not the skeleton way, but we'll see what happens. Precise use of force and an extra glory. Oh, see, already FD's got 3. Quite an aggressive style of play. And then, so I'm probably not going to get precise use of force. We know this. What we can do is return someone to the field, and that will be Harvester. Though, probably come in with Bone Cutter and try and take him out. So yeah, what was in reference to before is that the Sepulchral Guard actually inspire when they get returned to the battlefield. So once they're taken out and they're brought back by the Warden. Oh, come on. So 1, 2, 3. So potentially there. But what we're going to do is we're going to move some fighters. Let's move one of these fellas just onto objective 1. And then we're gonna move actually gonna move all the way back in here. And we're going to use hidden paths just to move our warden around a little bit. Just kind of ensure that he's not taken out straight away, you know? Any plans to open up for VR? Like, would love to grab the minis with my hand and move them around. VR would be really cool. No immediate plans for that kind of play. But yeah, tabletop VR is a very cool concept and it's a lot of fun. I've personally looked into the Settlers of Catan kind of VR play, and it can be a lot of fun. Yeah, picking up miniatures, especially alive miniatures or anything in game, is always fun in VR when you get to pick them up and see them and they're, you know. Cool, so we got those two. We are probably not going to get precise use of force. Get rid of that one. We're going to put cleave on our harvester. Okay. Now these ones are going to be a little bit harder to get. Here's the next thing. Yeah, it's a little bit far off, hey. But look, AR and VR stuff are really cool. I've personally worked in some VR before and some VR titles, and there's some really cool stuff out there. Oof, okay. This is going to be a little bit more difficult. Not much I can do against that one. So what we're going to do is we're gonna hold. No, we're gonna. We're gonna hopefully keep the warden alive. That's what we're gonna do. That's our aim, is to keep the warden alive. Then what we're going to do is champion. Even though potentially could take out by bone cutter, we're going to see if we can't move our champion up. Let go. Actually, let's do 2 movement. Get him running, getting him sprinting, and then going to now this might seem dangerous, but this is where you have to really just believe that the rolls will get you through. It won't. It's really difficult to play the Sepulchral Guard against an aggressive kind of deck. It's only if you are a proper strategist, which I am not, that you'll see some multiple plays. Hello, Kickord, over on YouTube. To play 3 or 4-way, that's up, or 2v2 mode. So different modes and stuff in the future are going to be like a little bit difficult to implement, just because that's obviously a lot to do with like servers and you know, whose turn is it, and if someone's internet decides to drop out, like what does that mean for everyone else? But different modes and stuff in the future is definitely something that we want to be looking into. Being a live operations game, not much I can do against that. Being a live operations game means that we will constantly be doing updates and things like that, adding new content, but it's one of those things where when we add new content, there will be smaller quality of life changes all the time. So just keep an eye out. So what we're going to do is we're going to return our harvester. Oh, there you go. So Concord has done some videos in French on their channel if you want to go check that out. So yes, one of the best things about the Iron Skulls as well is that they do have a lot of ploy cards that allow them to roll extra dice and things like that. Very good aggro kind of deck against a very plebeian kind of play by me. Oh, yes, that's what we want to see. Keep him alive just so then I don't die. Now, I don't really have anything to help with movement, so I'm just going to actually get rid of this one. Any plans to add objectives somewhere that you can see them all the time, and when you hover over them, they will kind of show where that objective is. So probably the best way we've wanted to implement that is actually the tactical view, which is this one here, right? So then you can just have that on and off by pressing that button, or you can toggle it. But that's probably the best way just to do it, just so then green ones obviously being the objectives there. And I'm actually going to move my petitioner over here. Yeah, that's the best way to view it at this stage. Obviously, as the game develops and new objectives gets implemented, come different skins and different kind of boards, we'll be seeing more cool stuff. So it might be more obvious, it might be less obvious. So I'm actually going to keep those. What we're going to do is going to put Ancient Command onto our Warden. And I just want to double check. So the Harvester has a movement of 3. We're actually going to give the Harvester a movement of 4 now. We're not going to throw away Awakened Weapon. So you can unlock skin for your people cake. I'll show you that just after we finish this game. So this is where the music gets all intense. We're gonna go, right? No. Yeah, we're gonna go. Oof, I'm scared. Okay. We're gonna get rid of objective 3 and 4 because we're not gonna get that. What we are gonna do is use Flickering Step in hopes that we can move someone. Yes, awesome. We're gonna move over there. So Kikord wants to know, any idea when will the next release be? Cards or warbands? So we just released the Skaven last week. So that was Spikeclaw Swarm. So we've now got 6 warbands in the game, and you can try those out right now. gonna put spoils of battle, and we're gonna put movement onto the prince. We're not really going to get a chance to use Awaken Weapon, I don't think, so we're going to get rid of that and see if we... Yes, that is something good. We're going to save that for a later time. So what he's done here to make sure that I don't bring someone back is put Gerzag there. So what I'm going to do, what am I going to do? Hard questions. All good, Concord. So we're going to... Nope. We're actually going to charge in with the prince, mainly in attempts to get Gerzag off there. No. Yes. Let's go in. Nah. It's fine. I thought I could have pushed him to that way if I succeeded, because the prince does have a knockback +1. But I did not succeed, so that's fine. Alright, coming in for the harvester. Oh, that critical success. So what we're going to try to do is we're going to move some peeps. Let's do some movement. Oh, should we keep it? Let's try and move some peeps. Hey, all right, we're gonna attempt move the champion over here. We're then going to move the harvester all the way up here. I clicked the wrong thing. Oh well, it's fine. Okay, bone cutters come in and try and take out me, which is interesting. Okay, cold war. Let me just bring back someone. Yeah, it is. It has. I've made silly mistakes, but we'll see how we go. I'm just going to move up into here. in hopes that things work out. I honestly cannot remember if I brought someone back this round. I don't think I did, but we'll see. Guaranteeing that kill with Twist the Knife. I think FD's probably won it. Probably has got Conquest. Oh no! So by pushing one of my fighters off, that's ensured that I wouldn't be able to get Supremacy. Oof. There you go. GG, FD. Very well done. And so now all my fighters will go down. His fighters inspire. Good work. So that just goes to show the different kind of playstyles you can have in the game. And so what we're showing here, Cakefisk, is what happens when you play games and earn experience. You get one of these kind of urns as you unlock them. When you click them, they open up to show what you've just won. So in this instance, it was the previous skin, just showing that off there. But for each warband, as you play them, you'll earn experience along the bottom here. Wins will earn more experience than losses. You will still earn experience on losses, just you won't earn experience when you concede. So you want to make sure that you're not conceding from matches, you want to play them through to the end. But yeah, there are a lot of things to unlock, as you can see. And we are hoping to implement and update and add more things along the line. Well, that will probably do us for today. We like to keep these short, so that goes into a bit of a deep dive into some of the different ways to play and deck building and why you want to choose click customize fighters. Sure. Yeah, well, it's actually one of the skins we've already got. Here we go. The Shade Guard. So yeah, hopefully that helps. So Dragon, this one goes out for you, as we kind of went into all different ways to play. Oh well, just some of the ways to play, not all of them, because there's a lot of different strategies. But that's okay, Dragon. You can always catch up watching our YouTube channel as well. All those videos are available later on. It would be nice if I could paint them. I'm being greedy now. Yes, a lot of people have asked whether or not you can paint warbands. Unfortunately, at this stage, you cannot, mainly because it's a lot. Customizing warbands is a lot of effort. So to be able to build something in-game would take a lot of time and resources. Essentially, you know how other games kind of allow you to customize certain things and stuff like that. Those are essentially a whole program in themselves. For us, we've been mainly focusing on the program of getting the game to run. So yeah, being able to implement things like that would take a lot of time, resources. Obviously, it is something very sought after by a lot of people. It's just not something that has been a high priority for us right now, as we've been trying to just make sure the game works and runs. But yeah, thank you very much for everyone who thank you from Sweden. Yeah, thank you for everyone joining the stream today. As always, you can always find us across most things online. Just do a search for Warhammer Underworlds online. With that, you'll be able to find us on YouTube, where we're doing all our posts. You'll be able to find all our previous streams there as well. You can find us on Facebook, on Twitter, on our Discord. Highly recommend checking out our Discord. We've got the link over there, down below. We also obviously we're out on Steam right now. We're still in early access, but we're getting towards the end of our early access period as well. So we're mainly focusing on just fixing up bugs and things like that. Thank you to everyone in our community who's already been playing the game, logging those bugs. It's been really, really, really fun. Yeah, Kikord, thanks for dropping by over on YouTube. You can always jump in if you want to verse me. Just let me know, and we can always set up a match. We can stream it if need be, but otherwise we can put in our match codes to be able to play it. Do you have an approximate date for launch? Soon is always the answer, but it is soon. We can't divulge that information just yet. It's probably going to be a surprise. It will be one of those things where it will just be like, cool, and we're ready. Ah, scary. Um, but we've always wanted to keep it a short early access period. Obviously, with well, there's no harm in asking. But yeah, we've been having a lot of fun with early access, getting more cool stuff out there for you. Thanks for everyone for dropping by. Now we do my favorite bit at the end of every stream is the awkward wave goodbye, as I just awkwardly wave until I see myself waving across all the different streams. Just because obviously I'm here on Twitch and YouTube. I'm also on the Steam Store page, though the Steam Store page seems to be doing a weird thing. Yes, we also favor the take time to get it right. Yeah, so thank you again, everyone joining us. Hope you have a really good weekend. You'll be hearing again from us soon. You can drop by next week on my Monday, your probably Sunday. Tiny, come on, Tiny. You can watch later on YouTube if you want. All right. Thanks everyone for dropping by. Goodbye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye now. Goodbye. Bye.